What's up everybody, Super Dubrix fan here for another car review. This is of course the 2004 Cadillac CTS-V. Many thanks to Torquelist.com for allowing me to review their car today. I already tested the second generation of the Cadillac CTS-V and that car really impressed me. Aside from a couple little letdowns, it was a spectacular car. This car, it would be interesting to see. This was the first generation, the first try at beating the Germans and trying to, bring all the best efforts that Cadillac had at the time into making a world-class sports sedan. So, I mean, these cars are really impressive from the factory. You had 400 horsepower from a C5 Z06 motor, V8 LS6 motor, and put out 400 horsepower, 395 foot-pounds of torque. I mean, a really strong running car. And I mean, brand new, these MSRP'd for only around $50,000. So it was a pretty good bargain for what you got back then. As far as the looks go on this car, I mean, it's 10 years old, so I think it's dated a little bit. I think it still looks really good, though. I love that big, bold chrome grille, and, especially in black, this car looks really slick. I mean, back end is a lot more conservative looking, so I think the back end still looks really good. Front end does look good. I mean, these headlights are still projector beams and everything. I mean, it is a very nice looking car. I like the boxy proportions and the sharp creases in the body. I think it looks really good. Right, so for the interior of this car, it's a pretty nice place to be, even though it's a 10-year-old General Motors product, which could be a little spotty, as a lot of you know. But a lot of the touch points are really nice. First thing, the door handle here is nice. Now, this door panel is a little shaky, a little plasticky. Again, this is 10 years old, so I mean, things age. I understand that. This probably was a little bit tighter when it was brand new, but everything is a little loose. The volume knob is pretty loose, no resistance almost at all, really. But the buttons and everything are still pretty solid feeling, and all that stuff is still put together really well. So, but you sit down in this car, and it has these nicely bolstered leather seats with Alcantara inserts here. And the Alcantara is pretty grippy in this car. It actually really holds you in place. You don't really move anywhere. You have the wider bolsters here. I mean, it's a little bit more comfortable than the Evo or something like that. But, I mean, they're very comfortable, but very nice and grippy seats. I like them a lot. Steering wheel in this car is also really nice. It has a great 9 and 3 position to put your hands here. And it's just a really nice leather wrapped wheel. I like the design of it. And you have your basic few little buttons to do the necessities in a Cadillac. Cadillac loves putting the traction control off button on the steering wheel. I still think that's hilarious. Gauges in this car are also really cool. So very clear, easy to read, like the big V there. And it also has an integrated G meter. It has tire pressure monitoring and a few other little things like that. It also has a digital speedometer, which is nice too. So a pretty nice gauge cluster, especially for 2004. As far as storage spaces go in this car, it's, about average. So you have map pockets here in the doors, no bottle holder, but, plenty of room in there. And then you have a little cubby down here that's pretty small right next to a power outlet. You have your 2 cup holders, then you have a center console, and that's it. So not tons of stuff, but it's enough. And one thing that I like is the Cadillac engineers knew that they were going to make this car with a manual transmission only. So they wanted to make sure that the center console in the standard Cadillac CTS comes higher up, but they lowered this one so that it didn't get in the way of your shifting. And that's great because you can actually rest your elbow on this nice soft leather center console here and you can shift really easily. It's really nice. I like the setup of that a lot. And in 2004, there was only one option you could get for this car, and that was a moonroof, and this one has it. So this is a fully loaded CTS-V. Now, this car does have a screen, that allows you to control the radio and navigation, all that kind of stuff. And again, it's dated, as you would expect. 10-year-old car, it's going to have a dated navigation screen, all that kind of stuff. But, it's not bad. You have buttons to do different things, and it's pretty straightforward. Backseat space in this car is really good, actually. I mean, it's, not a huge car, but there's plenty of legroom back there for adults to sit. Trunk space in this car is also a very generous size. Very easy to fit several suitcases in there, no problem. No complaints there whatsoever. All right, so let's take it for a drive and see how it does. So this car has a MagnaFlow exhaust, and it also has headers. So this car has about maybe 30 more horsepower than a standard CTS-V. So we're running about maybe 430 horsepower in this car. And so yeah, should be fun. All right, so setting off in the CTS-V. Well, the first thing you notice is this clutch is actually a really nice weight. It's not heavy. It has a little bit of a rubbery feel to it, but it's actually a really nice clutch. It's a little tricky to engage smoothly sometimes if you're still learning it. The next thing you notice is this steering wheel is a pretty nice rack. It's a little looser than I would like. Also, you might be able to hear that rattle. That center console has started rattling. Again, this is 130,000 miles on this car, so you know I can kind of give it a little bit of an allowance for stuff like that, but it's worth mentioning. But on this bumpy park road that I always drive on here, it does a fairly good job of soaking up bumps. It's a little bit stiffer than a standard CTS, obviously, sport suspension, all that kind of stuff. And you know, it's not bad. I wouldn't say this is luxury car levels of refinement here, but it is good, and especially given the price of these now, it's much better than most of the other stuff you're going to get for this kind of money. Also, visibility in this car is really good, as you would expect from a four-door car. Large front windshield, you have large side windows here, very easy to see through that B-pillar and look over your shoulder when you're making lane changes. All that kind of stuff is very easy to do in this car, and yeah, it's really easy to drive. Alright, so let's turn onto this back road here and see how it does. Wow, that is fast. Man, so yeah, that was the first time I went full throttle in this car, and it's quick. It's very quick indeed. So I mean, 430 horsepower. I've driven faster cars, but the way that this gives you the experience and the way it delivers that power is very, very thrilling. Whew. So, and it sounds great as well. This V8 is so torquey. Like I said, you know, 395 horsepower stock in this car. With headers, you're looking at probably a little more than that. So, I mean, it's quick. So aside from the power, other things. Well, I'm on this back road here, and like I mentioned a few minutes ago, this steering rack is a little loose, and not quite as sharp, not nearly as sharp as the newer CTS that I reviewed. The 09 CTS-V had a beautiful steering rack. This car, not so much, but again, this is 130,000 miles. It might have been tighter when it was new. I'm not sure, but it gets the job done. It's fine. It has a pretty good feel to it, so I mean, I can give it that for sure. Another thing is the brake feel is really nice. This car has 4-piston Brembo brakes up front and in the back, so very meaty brakes, and the pedal feels really nice and sensitive. Coming up to this corner here, let's see how the body roll is, average speed. And there is some roll, but it's pretty well controlled. You know, I wouldn't dive into a corner in this car the same way I would in a WRX or the BRZ or something, but it is really good. It handles it well, and it feels a little lighter on its feet than the Chrysler 300C SRT8 did that I took around that corner a few months ago. Alright, so let's see about that power again, shall we? So I've driven one of these before, and the one thing about this car that is immediately apparent, especially whenever you get hard on the gas, is the rear suspension in this car is a little loose, a tad bit sloppy, and because of that you get that axle tramp where the rear end will kind of bounce around a little bit, and it's a little twitchy at times if you're getting on the power, you know, but it's really it's exciting though. To me, that's thrilling. That's the kind of stuff that gets you on the edge of your seat. This car won't drive itself. You have to drive it. You have to control the power, and you have to, you know, I mean, there's some stability control here, but I mean, this is a 10-year-old car. It's not nearly as advanced as the stuff these days with the Ferraris that drift themselves and stuff. This, you have to control it, and so I like that. This car is very exciting, very thrilling. But yeah, I'm going to spend all afternoon driving this car, and I'll come back and give you some updated impressions. So I did get to drive this car for a little while longer, but unfortunately I wasn't able to film any more remarks or get any more footage. My apologies. There's one last observation I had though while driving this car, and that is that the gearbox is fairly sloppy. It was a little challenging to do quick shifts in this car. Again, part of this could be because it's 10 years old, but the gears are also very widely spaced. Third gear in this car is about where fifth would be in the BRZ. Very unusual. Overall, though, these cars are a bargain for what you get. Yes, the quality and fit and finish isn't the best, but if you're buying this car to go fast in, chances are you don't really care about the interior materials anyway. The owner of this car told me that you can get one of these for around $12,000 if you aren't afraid of high miles. And why should you be? These V8s are bulletproof. This one had over 130,000 miles on it and it still ran flawlessly. If you're looking for something rear-wheel drive, fast, and relatively cheap, I'd definitely give one of these a look. Many thanks once again to Torquelist.com for letting me drive their car. Thanks for watching and take care.